Welcome to our thought for the day this Wednesday morning. Just a couple of days left to go until Christmas. I am super excited. I hope you are too. It's almost Christmas. We're nearly there. I love this time of year so much. I get unbearable. Do pray for Rachel that she'll be able to cope with me because, yeah, it's a bit much. I do get a little bit much when it comes to Christmas, but I'm super excited. This week, we're thinking about the Advent theme of love. Jesus is a love gift from heaven to us. And this morning, to help us think about that, I'm going to be reading some verses from John chapter 15 and beginning to read at verse 9. And it says this. This is Jesus talking to the disciples. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Now remain in my love. If you obey my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have obeyed my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, that he lays down his life for his friends. And you are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I learned from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. Then the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. This, then, is my command. Love each other. So Jesus, before he died, was talking to the disciples and he gave them this command to love one another. And he went on to explain, what does that mean? What does it look like? He says, actually, true love, no greater love is that than laying down your life for your friends. And he goes on to say, I call you friends now. I no longer call you servants. I call you friends, because a servant doesn't know his master's business, but I have revealed to you everything the Father has shown me. Why did he say that? Why did he say, I no longer call you servants? Seems strange, doesn't it, to say to his friends, I don't call you servants. Well, the reason is this. Jesus was their teacher. He was their rabbi. And so they had followed him for more than 3 years now, day and night, learning from him. He was teaching them day and night. He'd teach them from the scriptures. He would talk to them about God. He would demonstrate the power of the kingdom. They would see him performing miraculous healings and signs and wonders. He was their teacher. When someone chose to follow a particular rabbi, they would go to that rabbi and they would say, I want to follow you. I want to be your student. And you would then become a servant to that rabbi until your schooling was completed. You would serve that rabbi. You would wash his feet. You would wash his clothes. You would cook for him. You would do everything he told you to do. And you would serve him as a servant. And he would call you a servant. You were his servant until your schooling was completed. When he taught you everything he could teach you, then you were released. And you went back to your old life, back to your family, back to your job, whatever it may be. But while you were his student, you were a servant. With Jesus, it was different. He chose his own disciples. The other rabbis, you'd go to them and say, I like what you teach. I want to be your disciple. Will you teach me? And in exchange, you became a servant. Jesus chose his own followers. That's why he says, you didn't choose me, I chose you, because it was distinct from the way the other rabbis' disciples were picked. Jesus says, I picked you. I asked you, I invited you. You had to respond, but I invited you. And by becoming a disciple of Jesus, the disciples would have understood that that meant that they were his servants. They were to serve Jesus. They were to obey every command. And here, just before his death, he's saying, I no longer call you servants. Because actually a servant just blindly obeys and does what he's told. Doesn't know what his master's business is. Doesn't matter to him. He's purely a servant. But Jesus says, I have made known to you my Father's business. I have told you everything the Father said to me. Actually, a servant doesn't need to know that, but actually I have done that because you're my friends. He elevates us beyond the position of servants and gives us the privilege to be friends, friends of God. You know, what a wonderful gift that is, that Jesus came to demonstrate what life in relationship with God, your Father, would look like, but also that you have the privilege of being a friend of God. And what does that look like? It means actually doing what Jesus told you to do, living the way Jesus told you to live. If you do that, actually, he says, I'll call you friend. There's an invitation there for you today to live as a friend of God. How? Love one another. Love one another in the way that Jesus loved. Look at the life of Jesus, the sacrificial life of Jesus. He gave everything for you to know God. That is love. Give your life, spend and be spent for the benefit of others that they might come to know Jesus. That is love. Have a great day today. Love those around you. Love your family. Love your colleagues. Love your neighbours. Love your friends. Love them into the kingdom, that they too might come to know Jesus this Christmas time. Have a great day, and God bless you.